Hag Shmea Goyim. This is a lovely first night of Passover. And as you can tell in part one of how to diagnose glaucoma, I was pretty well lit. My teeth are a little bit brown right now from the chocolate. I did the usual Passover foods, except I'm not doing no garlic. I'm not doing no cinnamon. It ain't happening. So, and I live so far from the nearest Orthodox temple. The nearest Orthodox temple is, it's a 2-hour drive to get there, and then coming back on a Friday evening, it's 3 hours. That defeats the whole idea of the day of rest, or no, I really should have gone, but it's in Austin. There's the closest temple to here is what they call themselves conservative Jews, which means that they're actually super liberal. They will actually allow gay couples in the congregation. So this is how to diagnose glaucoma and advice concerning glaucoma, part 2. And I can tell at the end of the part 1, I was just beginning to mention chlorobutanol. I may do a whole separate. One of the things you need to be aware of is that the eye drops that doctors use to dilate and fluoresce your eyes contains a preservative that could have been removed in the 60s with single patient dosing, which they have for many things, but no, they still use them same old nasty brown bottles. And this is where I'm going to call you ophthalmologists for what you are. You're butchers. You know that using those eye drops will actually damage your patient's eyesight, will cause glaucoma. They knew it would cause glaucoma before I was born. They've been using, it's the rose bengal and the belladonna, but it's not the active ingredients. It's the preservative chlorobutanol. Chlorobutanol. If you can't spell that, you're too stupid to understand any of this stuff. You need to be very leery when dealing with ophthalmologists. They don't really give a crap about your eyes. And I should go ahead and continue on. I was making a point about eye pressure. Is that my own research and the fact that I've been blind in one or both eyes 15 times now, and that plus decades of research makes me the expert. The funny thing is that most ophthalmologists have glaucoma and they don't want to admit it. They don't admit anything. They don't want to admit that their standard practice should be called a malpractice. That use of those chlorobutanol preserved agents that they use in examining your eyes. By the way, tell your doctor no, absolutely not, no chlorobutanol whatsoever. Tell them no eye drops. They can, using applanation tonometry, they can get a pretty good guess at what your eye pressure is. It's an educated guess. As I already told you before, it's almost impossible to get an accurate reading of eye pressure. And in reality, I've redefined, and many of the profession are accepting my findings, which is glaucoma. As compared, mentioned my mother. My mother was a very high intraocular pressure, glaucomic, but she had almost no cupping of the optic disc and almost no need for glasses because she had excellent outflow, because she never damaged. She didn't take aspirin. She really didn't touch garlic much until she was older. Actually, for a family of 10, she would, if the recipe called for garlic, she would use only a pinch of garlic because we had that really sensitive Anglo palate, that Anglo-Texan palate. And just want to make the point here over and over again. I'm going to repeat to you, if you let your eye doctor put those drops in your eyes, you're risking, why do you think they give you like those polarized eye shades to leave their office? because they know. See, you don't go blind during daytime with glaucoma. And the correct term for that blindness is photophobia, which I'll give a brief description here. You'll go blind during the night when your eye pressure peaks. It's called the nycthohumeral cycle. Read my lips, nycthohumeral cycle. You can find it in dictionaries, a Black Law Dictionary. It's NYCTH, you'll get it. Nycthohumeral cycle, which usually peaks an hour or two before dawn. And that's actually what makes men wake up, is our testosterone and our eye pressure peak early on. My father never needed an alarm clock, just never. We didn't really have alarm clocks of my own, it didn't happen. Yeah, let me have oh great. Like normal, I'd let it go out. I have no idea where my lighter is. A candle. It's my habit on Friday nights to light a candle. And Saturday nights. But let me get back to it. I keep looking at the screen instead of the camera. I know I'm kind of rambling at times here, but I'll get back on point here. It's really the spikes in intraocular pressure that last 3 to 5 days is what causes the cupping of the optic disc. And I don't care what the industry hacks say. Genetic glaucoma is rare. It's observable at birth. They go blind usually almost very quickly. And otherwise, glaucoma is multifactorial. The biggest factor being lots of reading, heavy labor, childbirth even, and the use of aspirin-like drugs. It's almost never, ever genetic. Just because it runs in family, that means that you come from a family of readers or hardworking people, etc. But you can actually test high and prolonged intraocular pressure just like my mother and not have any cupping of the optic disc. But these doctors will come up with all this BS about how your your optic discs are cupped. Your optic discs are these round discs at the very center, back of the eye, and the center of the retina. That's where the images focus upon, and that cupping causes a defocus problem. And I'm at 8 minutes now, so you can have high pressure and have very little cupping so long as you have good outflow. See, that's the problem. I'll try to get into a quick, brief explanation here. I'm the first person to explain the molecular mechanism that facilitates the outflow of the fluids that inflate and nourish the non-vascular parts of the eye via the uveoscleral pathway. There's a little series of drainage holes around the edge of your cornea called the uvea. And it's either anandamide, arachidonyl ethanolamide, or its analog cannabis. What it does is it alters the cohesion of that rather gummy substance and allows it to flow out. And Zalatan, which I've got my mother prescribed Zalatan, but Zalatan, as I warn people, it will turn blue eyes brown. Actually, I got to tell you that good story, because after I had taped the show talking about latanoprost, Zalatan, I had to wait, put it in the can, and had to wait 48 hours for it to get scheduled on Austin Access. Somebody called Dan Rather. And Dan Rather, like the next day after I shot the show, Dan Rather opens up the CBS Evening News with, "There's a new glaucoma drug, but it'll turn your blue eyes brown." A play on the old Crystal Gale song, "My Brown Eyes Blue." Dan Rather and Walter Cronkite are both UT grads, and they anchored the CBS News forever. I really hate Dan. And even Walter Cronkite, I got to admit, was A little too liberal for me. But there is no other explanation for the cupping of the optic disc other than these spikes that usually only last for 3 to 8 days, where they finally bust through. And I'm going to give a brief explanation of photophobia and when not to go to the hospital and to get cannabis. Okay, let's just get to it. I'm going to tell you the mistake I made the first time that I had photophobia. That's blind. It's all you see is light, brilliant light. Even a 5-watt bulb will blind you. You're going to wake up and your eyelids will be gummed together, literally glued together from the exudate. And any light at all is just painful. You wake up actually vomiting. They keep saying that, oh, glaucoma is the painless blinding, No. It's actually very annoying. We glaucomics tend to blink a lot, which makes people think that we're prevaricators. We're constantly rubbing our eyes because actually a lot of dogs have it. You ever notice those dogs, they get those eye boogers and stuff? If you wake up in the morning, that's after you pass the peak of your nictohumoral cycle. If you wake up in the morning and your eyes are real gummy and stuff like that, or if you're one of those dry-eyed people, if you feel like you have sand, you're doing this all the time, and you feel like you have sand, that's the doctor asked you. It's one of the standard medical questions is, you sometimes feel like you have sand in your eyes or whatever. That's the little bits and pieces of exudate that have dried and they're still caught in there. And you can actually see it accumulating on the corneas. You can see as you blink, if you watch real closely, when you are getting good outflow, you can see what looks like an eyelash. Sometimes you'll think you have an eyelash in your eye, but no, it's a little string of those little globs have globbed together, and it looks like an eyelash on your cornea, and in reality, it's just the fluids that inflate and nourish the non-vascular parts of the eye. And so that's my warning to you. Let me finish the definition of and description of photophobia. It's the fear, the pain of light. I'll do a whole segment on it. I'll do a whole video about it to really let you know how horrible it is. The good thing is that in me, I found out that it never lasts more than 8 days, with or without pot, without cannabis. And so I really don't worry about it much anymore. I used to carry a little tool. I'm at 13 minutes. I have about a minute to finish up here. I used to make tools out of razor blades, those little, bend them into a triangle to cut a flap in case it really got too high. Used to carry around a little glaucoma kit that had every possible thing from glycerin to you name it, everything to, in case my pressure really got high, to release the pressure, which literally means, but my advice to you is the same thing that I would do for myself, which is do not present yourself to doctors at that point in time. Find yourself some cannabis, rub a little glycerin in your eyes, but number one, do not, because your eyes will be all gummed up. Do not use hot water. Use cool to cold water. Do not put hot water in your eyes. It actually will increase the pressure. That's the mistake the first morning that I made when I woke up blind, is I tried for an hour using hot water to get my eyes open. And I was actually in blepharospasm, eyelid spasm. Wasn't going to open up. And that hot water actually increased the pressure and prolonged that episode. So just remember, I'm down to a few seconds here, is that never let doctors put those eye drops in your eyes, and avoid all aspirin-like drugs, which includes garlic. They can blind you. They can damage your eyesight. That's it. I'm through.